Hey everyone, The Threesome is a new modern family drama directed by Chad Hartigan, starring Jonah, Hauer-King, Zoey Deutch, and Ruby Cruz. This film blends romance and a bit of comedy into a story about complicated relationships, unexpected pregnancies, and how life often doesn't go as planned. Given the opening of the film is just a little bit disorienting because the characters you see at first are not the main characters. It does leave you wondering if this is the film you came to see or not. So let's break that down and see if this is a film you want to go check out in the theaters. Connor, who is on the edge of giving up on his longtime crush Olivia, shares a surprising night with her and this girl that they meet at the bar named Jenny. Over the following weeks, Connor and Olivia have finally realized that they kind of are the perfect match for each other. But then both women turn up pregnant. Connor finds himself in a life altering situation of trying to care for and support two women, one of whom he's in love with, and the other he just really likes as a person. And now he's got this responsibility with her. Meanwhile, Jenny's Christian upbringing complicates everybody's lives, and Olivia wrestles with the jealousy she feels and her own societal judgment that she's placing on herself about this weird joint family situation that they are all in right now. Their lives intertwine in this really messy and emotional way that, I don't know, it just feels profoundly human and profoundly modern, especially right now as society seems to be going through some contortions on what a family is supposed to look like nowadays. The film opens with Connor's best friend, Craig, getting married to another man. That's not an issue in itself. I don't really care. But what ends up happening is it feels like the movie's about them at first. That's how it opens up. You think that they are the center of this film. So, if you're expecting the threesome to dive right into Connor and the two women from the trailer and the poster, it's a little jarring instead to spend the first few scenes of this movie with two men you don't recognize. The story eventually redirects back to Connor, but it's not the most graceful start since so much weight is placed on Craig and his husband. Craig is Connor's best friend. And these are characters who barely factor in to the film, except for Craig, who occasionally pops up later in the film. And frankly, is quite funny. I'm really glad he's in the film. He adds a note of levity that the film really needs. So let me set the record straight about this film, about Connor, Olivia, and Jenny, and their one night stand after this evening of drinking and dancing and having fun. They just all kind of let their hair down a bit. What works well in this film is the setup of how they all get together and how it just captures the surprise and the messy fallout of a romantic mistake, as well as the emotional turmoil that collides with the life you planned and the life that is dealt to you due to the choices that you make and the consequences that come. Beyond that, it's a story about having the courage to do the right thing, even when it's painful, even when it's humiliating and pushes you into these uncharted and terrifying territories that you never imagined you'd be in. The heart of the film really is the characters. This is a very character driven movie. At its core, this is a movie that throws three very likable characters into a situation that is just messy and complicated. And it's really far from easy to navigate. I mean, either together or alone, anyone who's been in a complicated relationship knows what these things can feel like. This film nails that feeling. Connor, played by Jonah Hauer-King, comes across as this kind and sincere guy who's clearly in over his head, but he refuses to walk away, which is a great thing. That makes him both a compelling leading man and a role model of sorts. I know some of you are like, he's not a role model if this happens. I know. But he's sweet and he's generous and maybe even a little naive. Yet Jonah's performance captures that mix of earnestness and awkwardness that make him an oddly magnetic character to watch on screen. Connor feels like an ordinary guy you might actually have in your circle of friends who gets himself into a bit of trouble, which kind of grounds him in believability, especially when he chooses not to abandon either woman or either of his kids. That's the kind of integrity we need to see more of on screen today. Olivia is played by Zoey Deutch, and she's quirky and complicated. She's a woman who isn't ready to be tied down. She feels like that friend who's always living right there on the edge. She's fearless. She's fun. Maybe she's a little bit too wild. She likes Connor, but she can't decide if he's the right guy for her or if she's even ready for the right guy. Zoey does a great job of balancing the romantic tension with Livia's independence and her vulnerability, while also giving her just enough of a kind of sharp edge to suggest that there's always something more beneath the surface. Jenny is played by Ruby Cruz, and she's the sheltered Christian woman who her life just hasn't unfolded the way she imagined. On the one night she decides to let loose, she winds up caught in something completely unexpected. She's genuinely sweet and smart and endearing. You can't help but to like her. If anything, the least believable aspect of Jenny's character is the idea that someone this warm and likable would actually struggle to find friends or find a boyfriend. But I guess life is strange, and this movie is about the unexpected surprises thrown our way. But I don't know. I kind of feel like even though she was great in the role, they should have picked someone that was still a little less likable. This is a modern story about adult life and how it rarely follows the script we imagine. Parenthood, partnerships, marriages, responsibilities, they all collide into these characters and their expectations for life that just aren't working out. The result is layered, it's uncomfortable, it's honest, and at times it's overwhelming, but all of it is pretty relatable. What sets the threesome apart from so many films today is that the story feels genuinely fresh while dealing with questions of society and how, we face these uncomfortable situations, namely, what does a modern relationship or a modern family look like? And how do we navigate that space without blowing up our entire lives? That depth gives the story its layers, and those layers make the characters and their conflicts and their choices more interesting. What makes this all work, and it's a lot different than films like It Ends With Us, which totally failed, is the on-screen chemistry and the core actors. It just feels authentic and it feels real in the sense that all three of these people seem to like each other. They bring humor with them to their roles. You can feel their heartbreak. You get the sense that everything that's happening is natural and earned, and it gives the film a greater resonance when you're watching it. So, the film's biggest weakness is its pacing. Some scenes linger way too long, especially during the repetitive back and forth, will they, won't they moments where you're just like, make a decision, people, just make a decision. While the story does feel grounded and the characters feel believable, I really like those things about it. But man, the runtime, it could have been trimmed by 15 or 20 minutes without losing any emotional weight. At times, the drawn out length really makes it feel like the drama is overly sluggish and it really undercuts the otherwise strong storytelling. And that's a downer because it could have been a really good film if it didn't just take its time. A sharper edit would have turned this good film into a great one. So, is the threesome ticket worthy? Overall, I don't know. I think it probably is. If you're in the mood for a thoughtful romantic drama that balances realism with just enough comedy to lighten things up and keep it from taking itself too seriously or being too heavy, this isn't a glossy rom com tied up with a neat bow. There are no easy answers in here. It's a story that embraces the messiness of love and responsibility and what it's like to be an adult in a complicated situation. If you enjoy films that put characters front and center and ask, what would you really do in a situation like this? I think it'll give you a plenty to think about here. That said, comfort levels matter. The entire plot spins out of one impulsive threesome. Though the trailer and title make it seem like so much more of the focus is on this threesome when it's not, it still does happen, and some people are not comfortable with that. So you make a decision based on your comfort level. The scene itself is very brief, and there's very little nudity. There's nothing totally explicit in here either, but it does kind of set everything else in motion. And if that premise makes you uncomfortable or you prefer simpler romances without the heavy complications, this really might not be the right film for you. But for those who are kind of okay with those modern takes on romance, it probably will feel surprisingly real, and it might feel like it represents a lot of people out in the world right now. For me, between the confusing opening and some of the pacing issues, it lands around a 6 out of 10. It's not perfect, but it's a solid film, worth your time, whether it's in the theater or on streaming. Explores these messy things. It's kind of funny. It's got real feeling relationships. So, what did you think of The Threesome? Did you see it? Is this your kind of movie? Are you planning to go see it? I would love to know what you're thinking on this one. I always love hearing your take on these modern romances because if you know anything about me, you know I'm a sucker for a good love story. Don't forget, while you're here, if you could just give this video a thumbs up and subscribe and share with a friend, that would be awesome. And thanks so much for watching, everybody. There are more reviews, more coming. Until then, happy viewing. I'll see y'all again soon. Bye for now.